recording does, just so you know. And go.
Hi everybody, my name is Presley Galitz, and the novel I chose for my senior thesis these past few months is The Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And what I'm going to be talking about tonight is how in The Great Gatsby, Fitzgerald exposes how society puts on fake personas to please the public, similar to Jay Gatsby and the rest of the characters in the novel. Now, before I begin my presentation, I want to start off by saying nothing is new under the sun. This saying pertains to many things, whether it be in high school, a workplace, or even events in our lifetime. People seem not to change one bit, and I saw this in The Great Gatsby. The novel set in the 1920s, and being written during that time period, some of the concepts that F. Scott Fitzgerald talks about are very relevant to what's going on today in the 2020s. The main character in the book, Jay Gatsby, puts on a fake persona to fool the public into something that he is not. This is common in all time eras, on how people will act deceptively around everyone, and then behind closed doors be their actual self. Not only was Jay put on a fake persona, his lover, Daisy Buchanan, she does too. She puts on this air that she's the perfect wealthy wife, but behind closed doors, her husband, Tom Buchanan, is cheating on her, and she's cheating on him with Jay Gatsby. Now, before I get into my main points, I want to give a little background information on the novel, just in case anyone here has never read it. I'm sure everyone over there has. So, our narrator and main character, Nick Carraway, moves into the West Egg of New York in the summer of 1922. And his neighbor, Jay Gatsby, throws these elaborate parties for the public to see. And one night he's invited, and he becomes friends with Gatsby, and he soon learns that his love for this woman named Daisy Buchanan. And he talks about her, that he wants her back in his life, and he'll do anything. And Nick helps him with this. He invites Daisy over to his house without her knowing that Gatsby will be there. And they meet, and then they soon fall in love again. And I want to mention that her and Gatsby were once lovers, but sadly, Gatsby had to go off to war in World War I, and she was left at home. And she soon found a man and got married, and Gatsby came back and realized that his woman was gone, and he made it his life goal to get her back. So when Daisy and Gatsby reunite again, they start having an affair, but don't feel bad for Tom Buchanan because he starts having an affair. So it's affairs all over the place, people. The actions that they made soon get out of control, which leads to the death of Jay Gatsby. Now, there are two sides on how Jay became the wealthy man that he is today. One afternoon, Jay invites Nick in his hydroplane to lunch. And he is talking about he belonged to a wealthy Midwestern family. He is an Oxford man. And Nick is feeling a little skeptical about this because the last night at his party, so many rumors were being spread that he was a murderer and murdered people. He was a general and fought off Germans. And some of it's kind of true, but a lot of it is false. And Jay can kind of sense this. So he pulls out this medal that he had in his pocket and a picture of him in Oxford. And we can see this when Nick says, "He reached in his pocket and a piece of metal, slung on a ribbon, fell into my palm. That's the one from Montenegro," Gatsby said. To my astonishment, the thing had an authentic look. "Order I, dyed in yellow," ran the circular legend. "Montenegro, Nicholas Rice." Turn it to Gatsby. I read for Valior Extraordinaire. And then we soon learn Jay's real backstory when he's dead, and his father, Henry C. Gatz, comes to the funeral. And Nick soon hears the real backstory. Henry C. Gatz says that James Gatz, his real name, was born into a poor family. And he felt insecure about his upbringing, so he left. He left North Dakota, and he went to college. But sadly, he was very broke, so he only went for a month. So technically, he could call himself an Oxford man, but he didn't go for those four full terms. And he soon meets a man by the name Dan Cody, who's this wealthy man. And he takes him under his wing. And James Gatz soon evolves into Jay Gatsby, the wealthy billionaire. Sadly, Dan dies and leaves some inheritance for Jay Gatsby. But his mistress, Dan's mistress, takes it from him. And Jay is left to fight to be a wealthy man. And the way he would fight is by bootlegging. And in the 1920s, Prohibition was a very big deal. And if you don't know what bootlegging is, it is the illegal manufacture, distribution, or sales of goods, especially alcohol. So Jay's way of fighting was very illegal, and his money was dirty money. He lied and said he was a businessman because if the public found out that he was a bootlegger, then like I said, it was illegal and his money was dirty money. Not only was he insecure about his life and his job, he was insecure about his relationship with Daisy Buchanan. He grasped onto her. He didn't want her to leave him. And he also pressured her into telling Tom that they were having an affair. And Daisy soon feels pressured, like I said, and she can't anymore. And we see this when she tells Gatsby, "Oh, you want too much," Daisy cried to Gatsby. "I love you now. Isn't that enough? I can't help what's past." She, Daisy, began to sob helplessly. "I did love him, Tom, once, but I loved you too." Not only was Gatsby insecure with his life and put a facade on, so was Daisy Buchanan. She put on this air that she had the perfect house with the perfect husband, with the perfect life. But deep down, there was stuff in her life that if it got out into the public, it would ruin her reputation, along with Tom Buchanan, who, like I said, is having an affair with another woman. This was kind of a snowball effect. It kept getting bigger and bigger until it exploded and the truth came out. And this affected Gatsby's death. And I've learned when putting on a facade, it can hurt the people around you. For instance, Nick, he was close with Jay. And when he died, Nick had to deal with the aftermath of his funeral. He had to deal with the publicity. And he asked the Buchanans if they were coming to Jay's funeral, but he got an answer from a servant saying that they had moved away from New York. They left, they're gone. And this is what Nick says about them. He says, "They were careless people, Tom and Daisy. They smashed up things and creatures and retreated back into their money, or their vast carelessness, or whatever it was that kept them together, and let other people clean up the mess that they have made." Some of the similarities I've seen in our society today with putting on a facade and being insecure about yourself is high school. I'm sure high school hasn't changed much since everyone here has been, but when I'm in high school, I can feel people putting on a facade just to fit in with the cool and popular kids. Or, I mean, I can relate. I've done this before. I want to fit in. Everybody wants to fit in. I mean, if you admit it right now, everybody wants to fit in, right? I can see this with family or friends, someone pressuring you to be something that you're not just to get by in life, which can be a good thing, but when it's to the point you're changing your character and you're not who you are, then you're kind of turning into a Jay Gatsby or a Daisy Buchanan. A major thing I saw was social media. Now, Gatsby did not have social media back then to post the latest party he was throwing out the West Egg, but the availability and attraction of social media raises the stakes of putting on a facade and being insecure about yourself. For instance, people can put on filters to seem more attractive than they are, almost like Daisy Buchanan. They can post things saying that they're having a great time, they're having an amazing life, but they could be insecure and depressed and stuff. Now, this isn't always the case, but some of the time it could be. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, how do I fix this? This is a lot of stuff, like a lot of negative stuff. Well, it may seem like a cheesy cat poster, but we should start accepting our imperfections. No one in life is perfect. I mean, we all know that. And it may be hard to start accepting that I'm not good in this, I'm not good in this. But you can always say, well, I'm good in this, so that balances it out. For social media, we should start taking healthy parameters, and they should be implemented for the younger generation and generations to come. Now, eliminating social media would be hard, just as Prohibition showed us in the 1920s with alcohol. But like I said, if we take parameters to make it a safer and good environment for everyone, then the world could be good. In a way, we're all like Jay Gatsby. Not in a way that we're all bootleggers and are wealthy billionaires, but in a way that we put on facades and can be fake and be insecure about ourselves. He threw dust in your eyes, as Tom told Nick. Not literally, but figuratively. He threw dust in his eyes for being fake. I know that things will not change instantly, but as a society, if we work together to change how social media is used or accepting oneself, the world will become a lot humbler and kinder. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
We can open it up for questions. If there's anybody who has a question online, just raise your hand and I will. Okay.
Cool.
All right, so if social media was to, have like a point where like it would have not be eradicated, but it would be like to a point where it wouldn't be as damaging, do you think people would still try to find a way to put on a facade even if we didn't have social media?
Yes, as we can see, Jay Gatsby, like I said, he didn't have social media to raise the stakes of putting on a facade, but he still succeeded in a way of showing off what he had, that he was this wealthy man, but in reality, he grew up poor, he was a bootlegger, he lied all the time. So there is ways of still putting on a facade without social media.
So what about the people who put those facades on for the bettering of somebody else? Like, you could, let's say I'm a terrible person and I have a kid and I put on a facade to make sure my kid doesn't know me as a terrible person. Is that a bad thing for me putting on this statement to protect my kid, or is that a good thing?
It's a really good question. I think that if you're putting on a facade for the good, I mean, change can be a good thing if you want to put it on just to show I'm protecting you in a way. And I can see that it is good, but if it's to the point where you are kind of lying to your kid in that example, you're lying in a way, and that's still of putting on a facade. Yeah.
Alright, so the American dream is like a big idea in the
Yes.
whole scheme of things, and like endless consumption, like they buy a dog off the street, they can never have enough clothes, there's so many shirts, big house, big parties, they have affairs not satisfied with their own people they're married with. How do you think this kind of idea plays in with putting on a mask?
That's another very good question. And for instance, the affairs, they lied to their spouses. The materialistic side with Daisy when she was tossing the shirts behind and saying, "Oh, they're such beautiful shirts." I saw the materialistic side of her, that she wants good things out of life. She loves Jay because he was newfound wealth, but she didn't really love him, which was putting on a facade because she didn't love the true him. Yeah. Is there any more questions?
I have one here, and then I have a question for you. Why do you think deception is such an easy part of self identity for most people?
Could you reword that, please?
Yes. So in your paper, you talked about putting on faces and facades and this thing. So why do you think it's easy for us as people to have this deception? Like our Facebook or our social media, the first thing that we show is a deception. It's not who we are, it's who we think people want us to be. So why do you think that's easy? Why do you think that's an easy part of self-identity?
That's a very good question again. I think it's easy to put one on. Like I said, social media, it is easy to put one on there because no one knows the actual you if you don't know that person. And back in Gatsby's day, he easily put one on because he wanted to impress Daisy. And putting one on can you trying to impress people and fit in, like I said, in high school or at home with your family or friends.
Any other questions? Oh.
So out of all the books you could choose from, why did you choose The Great Gatsby to do this?
Well, when I read it last year when I was a junior, I loved the way F. Scott Fitzgerald described things. And when he was describing Gatsby's parties, I felt like I was there. His way of wording and his imagery, I loved it. And I also love the time period. I mean, you can't go wrong with the 1920s with the floppy dresses.
All right. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience on?
I just want to know, where can you get one of those cat posters that you were talking about? I'm kidding.
You can buy it online.
Good job, sis.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to stop recording.
That was a good topic, though. It's a good book.
Thank you.